Hello and welcome to another episode of the Inside Athletic podcast, the official club podcast of Dunfermline Athletic Football Club. I'm your host Logan back, and once again I'm joined by my co-host Ricky Lord. How are we doing this week? I can imagine, Ricky, you'll still be on a high from Saturday.
Yeah, you don't need to ask me how I'm doing, Logan. I'm absolutely outstanding, excellent, and any other word that you can use to describe being happy. What a weekend we've had as Pals fans. It's been absolutely outstanding. How are you?
Yeah, good, really good. It's been a hectic few weeks. I think everyone around the club has been busy and anything, so I think it was certainly worth it after Saturday's showing, but just got to look forward to the 23rd of May now. We'll get on to all the semi-final talk later on with our guests Jake and Dougie, where they look back at the at Saturday's game along with me, myself, and Ricky, and their build up to the game, their thoughts on the game as a whole, their feelings and emotions through the penalty shootout, and then the happiness that occurred after the Tasha Oakley penalty hit the back of the net. Um, Also going to be talking about the rest of the season, so building up to end of the season games, a couple of league games left at the time of recording, two league games left with a chance to secure playoffs and hopefully getting as far as possible in them. So we'll start briefly with Saturday's match, Ricky, just to obviously we'll speak later to the lads about it, but just a general feeling of how that made you feel and how great an achievement that is for the football club as a whole.
Yeah, I think it made everyone. I think everyone was just full of absolute joy at the end of the penalty shout. Everywhere you looked, it was just happy Pals fans, which was a sight to behold. And even, I mean, even before the game, driving up to Hampden and just seeing Pars fans everywhere just really put a big smile on my face, just seeing everyone out. And, I know it's a kind of long standing thing about sleeping giant or whatever, but when you see the amount of support that this club gets from the city and the people on a big occasion like this, it does really hammer home just like the potential that's here, and hopefully that's something that the manager and the team, the players, and obviously the owners are recognising that we've got a chance to really do something special here. And I hope that Saturday was the start of that beginning to come into fruition.
And then we've got a final to look forward to the 23rd of May. If it's not that long away. It's only a month tomorrow for at the time of recording. So we'll be looking forward to that when it comes round. Hopefully, we can get some ticket news out in
Yeah,
terms of allocations, and I know those meetings are currently taking place at the moment. So hopefully, we can try and take as many fans as possible to Hampden Park on the 23rd of May. And I imagine you'll see a sea of black and white at Hampden, hopefully as well, Ricky.
absolutely, Logan. You said there it's been a busy few weeks for everyone at the club. If you think that was busy, wait to the final, because all the build up and all the media stuff, and the eyes of the footballing world in Scotland and wider than that is going to be on our football club. So yeah, really exciting to be a part of. You'd obviously much rather be in the final than not in it, and having all this stuff that comes with it. Let's just enjoy it. Let's try really, really hard to enjoy it, even though I'm sure you and I and everyone else will be feeling the nerves kicking in pretty soon. But yeah, a month to go. Let's ride the wave, and obviously we've got league duty as well. We've got, as you said, two important league games coming up. They may be more important than we'd like, but off the back of that, we've potentially got another six league games to play potentially. So I'm labouring that potentially point there. But it feels like the season's just starting. We've got such an exciting end to the season. It's something that we've not had for many years. So yeah, let's just enjoy it.
It's certainly building a great feeling around the community. I know obviously Ricky you live in Glasgow, but I can imagine you sense the all you heard all the stories from the
Yeah.
people in the town on Saturday night and I know there's a parish party in the brass house in the
I mean,
town.
it just gives the whole sort of city a lift, right? And as I say,
Yeah.
as you said, Logan, I'm not that close to it, not living in the city, but you can just tell from social media forums, even at KDM Group East End Park last night, a real everyone's walking about with smiles on their faces because of what they've seen on Saturday. So yeah, brilliant for the club, brilliant for the city, and we've just got one more step to take, and I think it will be an all timer.
Yeah, it might feel like the start of the season, but we do have the Player of the Year event on Sunday for the season as a whole. Um, every player will be there. We've got obviously some club awards, some fan led awards for individuals and for players as well. So that's getting held at the Alhambra Theatre on Sunday afternoon. Tickets are still available for that. Additionally to the awards, we've also got the Hall of Fame happening as well. And these Player of the Year events are a good chance for fans to see players get these awards and give the credit to the players that deserve these individual awards as well.
And I'll be really interested to see who wins it because I think there's probably 4 or 5 outstanding candidates, both for the Player of the Year and the Young Player of the Year. I think these boys have been a real revelation. Some of the signings over the summer have came in, hit the ground running. But I think the main thing for me, Logan, is they're such a likable bunch, and I'm not just saying that because they've agreed to come on our podcast and chat away to us. But I think you can see what we're trying to build. These are all really young, hungry players who want to do their best every time they step on the pitch. And we know it maybe doesn't always come off the way we'd like, but that they're absolutely putting the effort in for our football club. And I think days like Saturday, where we're at the semi final, really helps build that bond between the players on the pitch and the fans in the stand. So yeah, really excited to see who comes out on top. But I'm sure whoever wins and takes home the awards will be worthy winners.
Yeah, there's been a lot of consistent players in that team that
Hmm.
have made a lot of appearances as well. As I said, we spoke to a few of them on this podcast already.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I'm not giving away any any awards or that, but we have spoke to a few of the boys on here who have been great for us this season. As have the whole squad. They've been really and the each week there's been a few changes to the team every week, and I think that each player has contributed in their own way.
Yeah,
So
and I think we've got a
hopefully,
wee group of like fan favourites now as well. Like there's so many players that have just come in, hit the ground running, and are instantly just
yeah,
identifiable as someone who you want in your team. And that's added and complemented to the squad of players who were here from seasons previous. So yeah, no, I think we've got a great team at the moment, a great bunch of boys, and looking forward to seeing where they can take us.
I think it's just unfortunate that the goal of the season award was already voted before Tasha Oakley Booth's penalty hit the
What a
back of the net.
penalty!
So
That was unbelievable. I've never seen a penalty hit with such cool, calm collectedness. I'm sure we'll get onto that later on. But yeah, Tashan Oakley both the coolest man in Hampden at that point.
and just finally, before we move on to the semi-final chat, as we're recording tonight, the Fife Cup final is taking place between ourselves and St Andrews United. With not having the reserve cup this year or the reserve league this year, Ricky, it's a good chance for the youngsters to blend with the first team boys and get some minutes in that environment.
Yeah, it's so important. I think it's more important than ever. We've seen the fruits of the labour over the last 4 or 5 years, winning the Reserve Cup 2 years in a row, and now we've got the boys coming through from the reserves who are now mainstays in our first team and really really important players. The Todd brothers, Lucas Fife coming through now as well. It just feels like every time you learn of a new player and how they're getting on, another one comes along. So games like tonight and campaigns like the Fife Cup and keeping those youth players ticking over and coming through is really important. And I think credit has to go to John McLaughlin, Lanzarote, John, for keeping those boys coming through because I can't remember a time where we've had so much young local talent coming through the doors and making an impact on the first team. So yeah, really exciting to see.
We even seen some of the guys in that team being involved in the squad last Tuesday against Airdrie, with one of them making their debut as well with Christopher McDowell, who came on up front in the last stages of the game. I did think there was a slight chance that he was going to go through in the last minute and
Yeah,
score, but unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
that would be
But yeah,
the dream
good for the
debut.
boys to be involved as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the schedule has not been kind to us in terms of how many games we've played, and the importance of the games that we've got in the league. But it is what it is. We've sucked it up, and thankfully we've came through the busy schedule I'm saying we've came through. We've still got Tuesday, Saturday games coming up, but being able to rely on having those youth players who can come in and do a job and gain that experience at the same time is so important. So yeah, it's been a good few weeks to be a Pars fan.
Perfect. So now we've got Jake and Dougie joining us, who both Pars fans, both have been, well, we're at the semi-final and have got some good things to say about their pre-match rituals, their in-game feelings, and then their post-game antics, shall we say, on some parts. So it was good to chat to Jake and Dougie, and here's what they have to say. So we're now joined by two Dunfermline fans who were both at Saturday's semi-final. First of all, we're joined once again by Jake Ferguson. Jake, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday evening?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Logan. It's good to be back on, especially after I won't say such a great game, but such a great occasion on Saturday. So yeah, doing well.
We're also joined by Dougie, another Pars fan. How are you doing, Dougie?
Aye, good. Thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to it.
So, Ricky, we'll get straight into it. What was your first initial reaction to the draw?
Looking back now, I think none of us really wanted Falkirk, did we? Can we say that now officially? Because at the time we were all chatting
100%.
pretty all brave that we wanted them, but I certainly didn't want Falkirk. The season they've been on this bit of a fairy tale, haven't they? Rise through the leagues, and apparently they're prime Real Madrid these days. So no, I didn't want Falkirk. Obviously, it came out. I disappointed, but I had to convince myself that I was looking forward to it, and eventually it paid off. What about Dougie? What about you when the ball came out the hat? What was your thoughts and feelings?
I was like you, to be fair. I was kind of looking for whoever won. I was sitting watching, was it St Mirren Partick? When Partick were
Yeah,
unlucky the last time before the draw, and I was like, do we want the winner of this? Do we want Falkirk? You want to kind of keep away for Celtic, even though they're having this horrendous season everybody talks about. But yeah, as soon as they came out, it was kind of that one where it was like, I don't know, panic, excitement. So many different emotions came out of it. I was running up the stairs to tell the wife she'd already gone to bed. I was like, no, she was telling no way, but yeah, it was kind of all them at once. Brilliant though. Next couple of days it settled down. I wouldn't say more than happy, but looking forward to it. Some might say.
I think it was the build up. You knew what the build up was going to be like. You knew as soon as the ball came out the hat, and my nerves started instantly, right? Because you knew this is like the big one and a chance for revenge after the 2009 semi final. But yeah, we all knew how big a game it was going to be, and it was just a case of waiting and waiting for that day at Hampden. Jake, what about you, mate? When you saw us coming out, and you kind of knew it was going to be Falkirk, didn't you?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's a funny one because I think if I look even back further in the draw, like further rounds, they were doing so well, in the league and stuff like that. You still wanted to kind of avoid them anyway. I'll not hide away from the fact that after we played Hibs, I was like, would it be that a team that are more in our face would be the one that would be better off than us? And then once we played Aberdeen, it became more apparent. It was like, we might be doing okay against a team that might underestimate us a wee bit, or might be, I don't know, certainly like a more of an Aberdeen or a Hibs team, but Falkirk won't let us really get into our faces, kind of thing. But yeah, it just goes to show that you never know what's going to happen. And yeah, when the draw came out, I remember being a wee bit like, oh, I remember remember the first two, the other game, the St Mirren Celtic was the first two names out,
Yes,
and then
yeah.
thinking, like, who can we get here? And it was like, well, this is only going one way. It's
That was
only going
quick
one way.
maths on your
So
depart.
yeah,
On
yeah,
your part,
yeah, I
mate.
did well. I was at one, two, three, but yeah, it is what it is, and I think the initial thing was this is going to be huge, and it felt like that from the draw. It just kind of, I think you were kind of, it was in the back of your mind the whole time. So
And as much as even, the manager and the players, they've probably got a party line to say, no, we're just forgetting about the cup and focusing on
yeah,
the next game. Certainly wasn't happening for the fans, was it? Like we've all just been focused on Falkirk, and then I guess the run of form that we went on in the lead up to the Falkirk game really pushed that along in case that, like, in terms of building that excitement, because we're like, oh, in fact, we're in a pretty good place here.
mm,
But yeah, it was kind of all building up to it, and then I guess the day of the game itself, it was an early kickoff. I guess that was made life a little bit more challenging in terms of getting through to Glasgow. Obviously, I'm in Glasgow anyway, but for you guys coming through from Dunfermline, Dougie, what was your pre-match like on Saturday morning?
Eh, a house that should have been rocking that wasn't. I think everybody was nervous. Everyone came to mind in the morning for a few beers and rolls and sausage or whatever. But it was, yeah, I would say the excitement of the week that's going into it, that I thought we were all going to really enjoy the game. It got more nervy as the week went on, and you were thinking, oh, all this Barney Stewart, you're getting texts for your pals who were Hibs fans, Aberdeen fans. They're like, you're getting pumped them on, all this sort of thing. Which you didn't want to believe, but when they've got boys who, I kind of argued, my argument was like, these boys were all in League One and they were good League One players. They've done well to get through the leagues a couple of times. Like you've got boys like Cole Donaldson, who I thought struggled when he was with the Park, got relegated under Yogi West. I thought he was good at getting back and maybe getting the ball at the last, kick the ball on a good big tackle. And like the boy Henderson, I thought if we could get at him, I think we'd have a chance. But as you talk to other people and they're kind of they're nervous, you're like, oh, maybe I. And you know how good they are. They always under McGlennon, they are playing good football. But yeah, I was, I don't know, an extra couple of beers, as you say, it kept me going, but it was
That helps.
needed, definitely needed.
And in terms of the day of the game for you, Jake, I assume travelling through from Dunfermline on a bus, I assume.
That's right, mate. Yeah, we had a bus. We don't travel as a supporters group much anymore, but whenever there's a big game, we would do a bus. So I we had two buses going this time, and it was great. I woke up. I think I'd set my alarm, bearing in mind that our buses were leaving quite early, so I'd set my alarm for sort of like 6:30, just so I was like up and whatever, and wasn't rushing about. And at 5:55, my eyes were just open, just like that, and it was like I was just awake, and um, quickly drove along to my mum and dad's and had a bit of breakfast, and then we were away. So, it was great, and it was funny, like as soon as I sort of met up with everyone, there was like 50% of the people that were getting on the bus were quite like excited, and there was a lot of nervous faces in there. You could just sense it. Yeah, yeah, you could just sense it. But it was great. I had a right big feel about it. But I suppose for me, there was kind of echoes of when we played them in Hampden the last time. You don't know what you're going into, and I think just we know how dangerous a team they can be. And I've seen it a couple of times this season how slow a start we can be as well. And you're like, I think it just played in the back of everybody's mind until we were a little bit more oiled anyway.
Aye,
Yeah, and
Then
then
if I had that,
the
it was
predictions are out
fine.
the window.
We've got it in the
confidence
bag.
kicked in.
Who are we playing in Europe?
And I think I spoke to a few folks sort of at the game and talking about like superstitions and stuff like that. Now I'm not that big on superstitions normally, but for this game I was. So when I was booking my ticket, I saw that the seat that was available for me to buy was the same seat that I was in for the Scotland Denmark game at Hampden when we qualified for
Nice.
the World Cup. So I'm like, right, that's an omen. I'll pick that as a lucky seat. Dug out the old 60s scarf that my uncle took to the 1968 Cup final back in the day. All these little things that I'll take any little hint of
Yeah.
of an advantage through the powers that be. What about yourselves? Did you have, Jake, for you, anything that you kind of did, or was it just get the beers down you and see what happens?
So it's a funny one. I sometimes have little superstitions that not anything major, but little things. And then also the other half of my head is saying superstitions
Aye.
they're just for the week. Don't be doing it. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. But like throughout every game we'd been at this, in every cup game, I'd had my big jacket on because it was freezing, a big heavy jacket. And I was like, should I wear that? But at the same time, I wanted to wear shorts to football on Saturday. So I was like, I can't do both, right? So in the end, I had to ditch the jacket, and it just goes to show the jacket was not lucky. It was not necessary. But I mean, like, it's mad how your brain works because I even came home. I came home on Saturday night, and the socks I had on, I was like, right, wearing them at the final.
Nah, no be more.
Like, what? Do you know what I mean? Like stupid stuff like that. I will wash them, like, but you know what I mean? Like just silly things. I was like, right, will I wear this exactly same outfit, same retro shirt, same shorts, and that is mad. And then I wake up the next day and I'm going, nah, you can't, because you're clinging on to hope too much. So, but I suppose not really for me because I ditched the jacket, so I probably went. I went without any superstitions this time.
So if we hadn't got through, you'd be getting the blame.
That's it. Well, actually, there's a funny one. So I'm in a group chat with a group of the guys that post on Pine Bovril, and about I don't know about a year ago, I'd had there's the website Terrace that you can get all the par stuff they do in the shop and stuff. The one of the mugs, I think it was like the '98 shirt, with the triangles on it, and I won something through them, and they were like, "You've got a free mug," so that's the one I picked. And it's all faded. It's been in the dishwasher about 800 times, and it's like it's almost like a white mug now. But I always have two coffees in the morning of the game in that mug, and it's seen us quite well this season, right?
Two coffees, no
But
one of you are nervous at the game. Two coffees before the game.
I know. So I had to do that on Saturday morning. But then sometimes I'm like, no, you're just making things up in your head.
In your head.
Ricky, Jake mentioned lucky jackets there, and there's a lucky
I
jacket
know.
in your family as well.
There is a lucky jacket. Well, unfortunately, no longer. But my dad got a new jacket about 6 weeks ago, and we won.
Oh, I did wear it last night, did
Been
he?
ditched.
He wore it last night, so the streak is over.
No.
But,
Oh, I thought you were going to say he lost it.
no, so it hadn't tasted defeat, and every game that we were winning, it was like we were scoring 3 goals. Like I think it was record was. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 6 games, 6 wins. The goal difference was about plus 15. It's unbelievable because we didn't go to. There was a couple of games he missed, so any games that we dropped points, he wasn't there. So the lucky jacket was on a streak, but unfortunately, he wore it to the game.
Find it where they got it, and we can all wear it the next game.
I know,
We can all be sitting there with the same jacket on.
I'm sure if we
Sales
combined
go
all
through
the
the roof.
jackets
That'd be all
together.
like. Right, let's go on to the day and kind of get into Hampden. Because I think, I don't know about you guys, I got there quite early, wanted to really soak up the atmosphere, and I was just conscious of crowd stuff and all that kind of stuff. But I want to hear maybe, Dougie, from you, when you got to the ground and you got the team news, what was your reaction? Because obviously there was a lot of stuff, the manager had spoken about potential doubts and stuff with some of our players. When you saw the team lineup, what was your feelings?
Well, when you heard the Todd and Mullen stuff all week, like we went into the shop the week before to buy Josh, my son, another top to wear, just a new one. Ended up didn't get one, but he was asking if Lenny would be in the shop and things like that. And I was like, no, he doesn't stay
behind the till.
He doesn't stay in the shop, not there all the time. So I was talking to the girl about the tickets, getting them how they're getting transferred to the Hampden app and what have you. And he's pulling on my shorts, and he's like, Dad, and I'm doing this, shh, all this sort of thing. And he's like, no, Dad. And I turn around and Lennon was standing behind me, right? And I was like, no way. So by this point, I'm not really caring what the girl was saying about the tickets either. So he's over. We're getting talking to Neil Lennon, and he was asking him at the time if Morrison and Todd were fit. And Neil was like, he smiled, but he's like, I can't confirm or deny anything. I thought that was a bit of a strange to say, but was he maybe just like playing up to the wee man? And so the morning we got a taxi to the game actually because it was an earlier kickoff. So we got an 8-seater taxi, and we were sitting off the motorway to try and get into another line on the lay-by. And the team news came in. My uncle's other nephew, and he was like, Todd and Mullen are playing. And I was like, no way, because you were thinking Lennon's not doing that for Falkirk in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. But I don't know what it was like in the ground when like you heard that news, but in the taxi it was like seriously it lifted the whole. Not that it was I wouldn't say it was quiet, but it definitely lifted us. I went in there thinking, no, I think Mullen, especially with his pace at the back, I thought it was a massive blow if we didn't have him in there. Like John Todd does a great job. He's young, athletic, but I don't know. I just feel Mullen's just that kind of next level just now. And I thought that gave, as I say, I don't know what it did in the ground, but even to hearing that, I would think when that came out, the team must have got a massive lift for that as well.
It was in the ground. It was a bit like one of those kind of waves where you just hear the wave going across.
Like a goal coming through.
Have you seen the team? Logan, what about you? I guess you might have been in the other stand, in the south stand at that point. I don't know if it was different for you.
Yeah, I think. Well,
I suppose you might have known the team. You might have known the team previous.
Hit the quiet.
I can either confirm. I'll do it. Let's say I can either confirm or deny it. But I was in the media centre, and all the journalists in that were trying to look for the team at the time because it's usually about 11:15 that it gets officially submitted, so an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff. So they'd all try to scramble to see who was replacing Todd and Mullen, I think, and then they both realised that they're starting. So I think that kind of gives them a sort of it gave sort of the journalists a bit of a headline to begin with that they were both starting. So it certainly gave I think it gave everyone a lift, even the reaction on social media. They were like, Lennon deserves an Oscar for this, and stuff like that. But I don't know how much of it was was real or not. I don't know how much they trained beforehand or such, but it just gave everyone a lift at the club, and I think that they both contributed well in the game as well.
Definitely.
We're on to the game then, if we have to. The first 120 minutes, I guess, well, from I think from a Dunfermline perspective, for me, we executed the game plan really well. It wasn't an exciting match, let's be honest. We had but on the basis of the full game, we had the better chances, right? Hitting the bar, obviously Lucas Five really unlucky with that one. I think it was just bobbled and just a little bit behind him and he tried to dig it out. But over the course of the full 120, we looked comfortable. I wouldn't say that we were really troubled. And I think that was more down to executing a game plan and being really. We've seen that before in the previous rounds of the cup. It's more so against Hibs. The Aberdeen game we scored early and that kind of changed the game a little bit. Aberdeen fell a bit flat after that. But how did you see the 120 minutes, Jake? What was your analysis?
It was cagey. It was a tense game, and I think you get that moment when you get into Hampden and it's all exciting, and then the teams start coming out and there's the noise and everything, and it's great, and then everything stops for a minute and you think, right, now we've actually got to kind of turn up here, and we had that chance with Morris in early doors, and you're thinking straight away. I mean, I can't remember exactly what we're talking. Was it inside 3 minutes? And straight away you're thinking, is that it? Is that our chance? Is that the one big opportunity in front of goal that we're going to get? And looking back on it, he probably should have done better. I think he's almost scooped it like a wee bit, and it's went some distance. And I think possibly Callum Morrison of 4 weeks ago hits that lower and harder into the bottom corner. I think at least gets on target. So, but yeah, the game itself was tense. The good thing for us, we didn't give much away. I watched the full game back on Monday, and I think we really limited Falkirk to any to shots outside the box that didn't actually hit the target. Barney Stewart had a header early-ish, but it was tame. It was easy for the Ox to catch. But I mean, I think from watching it and obviously listening to the commentary as well, we definitely shaded it in terms of chances. There's no doubt about it that Falkirk did have a lot of the ball. But in the game itself, it wasn't a classic, and everybody will tell you that. They'll be quite quick to tell you that. But I think probably extra time we stepped it up a bit. We had those three opportunities, the ones Lucas Fife was involved in them all, but I just felt like they started to look a bit jaded, and we were the team that were going to go on and take it to them. I think we did. I think if we'd scored in the 120 minutes, if we'd scored in extra time, I don't really think any Falkirk fan would have too much to complain about either. I know that there was a lot of comments. I think McGlynn used the comment to say, well, penalty kicks is a lottery, and some of them are trying to go with that kind of view of, well, when it goes to penalties, it is a lottery. But I think there's no doubt about it that we deserved it over the 120 minutes. We deserved that with the chances created, and we got our justice by winning the penalties. So
I think when you look through the whole team, there was just some outstanding performances right across the board, and you could pick any one of them, but I thought the back three were immense.
So good.
Nuruddin was just like a total rock.
Aye.
Robbie Fraser was up and down. He wasn't up and down as much as he usually is, but that was probably down to try to contain Calvin Miller, which he did brilliantly. Middle of the park, Alphonse, Charlie were excellent. For me, when Hammy came on for the last 15 minutes,
I was just about to say that, Ricki.
If you can get a man of the match for the extra time, I thought Hammy was just outstanding. Won every ball, won every header.
Headers and that. It was mad.
It was great. Cool. Okay, let's get on to the most exciting part of the game, I guess. The bit we'll all probably watched back over 100 times. Yeah. Dougie, I'll come to you, mate. Your penalties, the final whistle goes. We know what's ahead of us. I guess first, how was your nerves? How was your bottle?
Well, I was worried who was going to take, we were talking, when we thought back, you looked at Todd, he was out on his feet. Fraser was injured, he was limping heavily. He said he was injured before obviously had injections and that before the game last night, he said it. And then I was like, who's actually going to be our five? Not that we needed our five, but they,
And the fact we've not had many penalties this season to
yeah.
see who our penalty takers are.
And
Take
I'd
that in.
never, I don't think I've been involved. Like, I didn't go to Aberdeen for the quarter final
Yep.
when we were up at Pittodrie. And I don't think I've ever been involved or watched live. Even with Scotland, I would say something I was so into a penalty shootout, and it was, I'd never crossed my fingers so hard in my life. I can tell you that right now. That, yeah, I was easily nervous. But for some reason, when I went up, when you looked at Oxborough and you looked at Scott Bain, it's like if I was taking a penalty, I would have been kicking myself, to put it nicely, looking at Oxborough. But looking at Scott Bain, it's like looking at me in goals, you know what I mean? A wee barrel in between the sticks, not going to get anywhere. He was like he was jumping out the way or something. But yeah, I've never felt nerves like that. But the euphoria after it, it was one of the best, easily one of the best moments of my life.
Unbelievable.
It was
Jake, what about you when the penalties kicked off and we saw, obviously Falkirk kind of felt like a few things were going in their favour, so they won the toss for what end. They won the toss to pick if they go first or second. So it kind of felt like they maybe had the upper hand, Logan.
But Ricki, they didn't get a Stonewall penalty beforehand, just a few minutes beforehand. So
Yeah.
How could I
Henry
forget?
Carthorse.
Side, but his headband.
Aye.
Aye, that was a bit of a poor one, and I don't know. I didn't really feel in any danger that it was a penalty. Like, I think the referee pulled his card out so quickly and sort of didn't point to the spot that it felt like, right, you didn't even have that chance to react to go.
That would have been the ultimate sickener, though. You know what I mean? 120 minutes, played well against your biggest rivals, maybe the biggest game and we've had in 18 years, and then to lose it like that.
Yeah.
But then Oxford would have saved that as well. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It would be fine.
Yeah. It just goes to show you, though, in terms of I forgot what I was going to say there. Actually, do you know? I thought you were coming in, Ricky, and something's just fell right out my.
Sorry, that was my fault. That was my fault.
Take us back to the penalties, Jake. So, as I said to Dougie, same to you. How are you feeling just before the actual penalties kicked off, and we're just waiting for the kick-off?
Yeah, well, I remember. Just going. That's probably what it was. I was going to say, going back to when they won the toss, there was not a massive cheer, but an audible cheer from their end when they realised that they'd won the toss and they were going to be kicking that way. And I mean I've got to be honest, when I think back on penalty shootouts I've been involved in the Pars over the years, probably few and far between. Like Dougie said, I wasn't at Pittodrie when we beat Aberdeen in the quarterfinals. What was it, in 2009?
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I was working late, so I watched on the telly. But other penalty shoots, I mean, they're actually few and far between.
We've not had that many. I think we've had a few in the cup
we had the
recently
one
and
at
not done very
Tynecastle,
well.
but that was fairly meaningless.
We were already through. That's right. Aye. So, but anyway, it's a weird one. You just have to kind of adapt so quickly because there's no time to sit and fret about it, because within minutes we're kicking off, and I think as soon as they missed the first one, and Brad Spencer, Mr. kind of reliable for them, and as soon as you see him, his bottle going a wee bit. And by the way, it wasn't a terrible penalty, to be honest. It was
so close to being a perfect penalty.
A couple of inches to the right, and it's a perfect penalty, and you never know what that does to them. Does that settle their nerves a bit more? And you will never know. But as soon as that crashed off the woodwork, I thought, what on here? And obviously, how it went. Just every Josh Cooper stepping up and Charlie Gilmour, I have got to say, I was like, they'll score, no problem. When I seen Hammy going up, I was like, not for any other reason apart from the fact that he's a proper Dunfermline boy, and I was like, oh, didn't he do this? Didn't he have it that Hammy misses? And he was absolutely fine. And I think it's funny as well because we were saying this, that when they took their third penalty, I think it was the boy Parkinson, and the Ox should have probably saved it, to be honest. It was a poor penalty, but it's kind of went underneath him. It actually came up on the scoreboard with a third red cross, and I thought, like, the scoreboard was that quick, it gave it, it's not a goal, and then it changed it quickly again to it was a goal. And I just remember that where I was sitting at Hampden, it was like I was right on the kind of goal line, so obviously up at our end in the north stand, and where I was right on the aisle, and there was people on the other side of the aisle, and there's someone I knew, and I remember turning round like just as Oakley Booth was about to kick, and they were like, "This is it," and I was like, "No," I was like, we're going another round after this." And then obviously when he scores, it goes mad, and I'm thinking, don't celebrate, like it's, a bit like David Marshall in Serbia. Eh?
Wait,
I'm like, no, 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 no.
Waiting out.
We're not ready yet. And then obviously when I seen the team running, I thought, well, it must be. So I just amazing, amazing. What a you know, what a memory. It wasn't a great game, like, but those penalty kicks, I'll watch them forever.
I think Tashan Oakley-Booth gets an award for the coolest man in Hampden
I
with that celebration as well. Just
yeah.
turns round as if, yeah, not a problem. Next,
I left him a comment on his Instagram under the photo that he put up of it saying "ice in the veins," and he liked it. So I know that he knew it. But he said that I think after the game. I think he got interviewed with the Ox, and he was kind of like, "No, no, I was looking forward to taking one." Like he was. I don't know if he's just putting on the dead chill. Aye,
I think he said
but,
he likes pressure. He likes pressure as a footballer, which I think
yeah,
that's a good thing.
you're not going to get
I know
much
that's a
more
different
pressure
type of
than that.
pressure. I think though, like that's a different level from anything else. But
yeah.
and obviously the post match scenes, I think will be one to savour for the rest of your life. Is it? Would you agree, Dougie?
Aye, brilliant. As I say, I was there with my dad, my uncle, and who I go to all the games with. And Josh, my son, only comes now and again. He's only been to a handful of games. He's been to a couple of Scottish Cup games. But yeah, he got really hyped up for that. So I was kind of like, please, it's all or nothing here as well. Taking my Hampden for the first time. And when he's obviously the celebrations after that, he was, well, we're all holding in the emotions as it is, but with him being there as well was so good. And then the players celebrating, Lenny coming across. It was brilliant. As I say, everybody was covering everybody. It was, and then seeing their side empty was even better to watch. To be fair, as well. So
Aye.
they quickly managed to get out with nobody noticing. I think.
Aye.
So,
Quietly.
Dougie, me and you sit next to each other at East End, and then we've sat together for a long time. I was saying to Logan earlier, I feel like I've grown up with you, just because
I
you've
know
always
without really knowing it, just going in that way.
but you referenced it there. You're always there with your dad and your uncle, and now your wee boy Josh has started coming along. You showed me a picture last night of you and Josh just having this big cuddle, and I think that's something that I certainly had a big cuddle with my dad at full time, and that's something that I'll always remember, and I'm sure Josh will remember that with you. And Dougie, I'm sure you were cuddling your dad and your uncle as well.
I cuddle my dad when he's scoring a surgery at home, so it doesn't matter when it's Falkirk in the semi-final. But
it's something I've seen online a lot. Is just like not about just forget about the game and the result, but just like the moment that game gave so many folk. Jake as well. You were there with your mum and dad. Like I'm sure we'll look back in years to come and remember this game and remember the penalties and the day out. But moments like that, like it just feels a bit more than football. It's just
Yeah.
really really special moment, was it?
Yeah, it was
Logan, I was
amazing.
going to ask. So I was just going to ask Logan, from your perspective. So you're in the press box at this point. What is that like? Because obviously you're there in a professional capacity, but also there as a fan. How are you reacting when this is all going on around you?
So even before the game, I was a nervous wreck, like really really bad. And people were coming up to me and be like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "No, not really." I just like I was doing stuff that I shouldn't, like not like in a bad way, but just like doing daft things. And I'm like, "Why have I done that?" Like I accidentally stole somebody's team sheet before the game, and I'm like, I was like, they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like,
Nervous?
"I'm just taking a team sheet, but that's mine." And I'm like, ugh. So that happened before the game. During the game, I was actually quite. I think I was quite calm up to what because I think like we controlled extra time at least, and I didn't feel like as longer the game went on that they would score because they didn't. Obviously, they could create something out of nowhere, but I felt less stressed about that. And then the penalties came, and obviously I do the social media updates for the game, so I was trying to type out on my phone the what was going on with the penalties. And when obviously Tash scores, I'm trying to get that as quickly as possible. So when everyone else is celebrating, I'm on my phone like that. Like my hands are shaking. I can't type. And then obviously the celebrations that follow. Um, I, I'll be honest, I couldn't resist singing the Dunfermline song when it came on.
Ah,
Like
no,
I just,
Oh
exactly.
yeah,
So
yeah.
good.
And do you know what
I
was
just,
quite
I just,
nice about that? Like when we were last at Hampden and would have won a game, it was probably the Hibs replay in
Aye,
07
McIntyre.
Yeah.
in terms of Scottish Cup and it meaning something. And I think they played the bog standard stuff like Chelsea Dagger and things like
Yeah,
that.
aye, aye, definitely.
So to hear that it was like the Skids and Big Country and the Dunfermline song getting played was just brilliant to hear that. Like,
Yeah.
It made it a
So
bit more
aye,
personal.
that was a good moment, and just I mean, obviously managing to get access to the changing rooms after the game to see the players and to see their celebrations and things like that. It was a great feeling and jubilant scenes, and they were all absolutely delighted. So a bit different. Obviously, you would love to celebrate it with friends and family, but it's a good experience from another point of view as well.
Aye, definitely. How many
yeah,
folk would have liked to been doing what you were doing, though? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
well, that's it.
Both ways.
So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
No,
what
it was a great day, and it'll be hopefully even better for a month's time.
The 23rd, hopefully.
Any anything from the dressing room you can share with us? Who was up on the table first? Who was cracking the beers early? What was going on?
Unfortunately, I was a wee bit down, a wee bit later, so because we had to deal with a lot of the press stuff. But I had all the access to all the photos from the game on my laptop, so they were all coming up
Okay.
to me and kind of having a look at their photos, especially Tash, who had that one photo that everybody's seen
yeah.
that's just him waiting to step up to take the penalty. He was like, "Send me that, send me that." So,
Straight
The,
on it.
the crowd, the
No,
crowd in the north stand behind looks amazing.
Aye.
yeah.
Because he must, and that must have got posted quite quickly after. Because I was in the brass house at about, well, I don't even know what time we got back at, but whatever time it was, wasn't that late, maybe 6 o'clock, and I posted it on my own social media at that time, with probably a not
he was
too
quick off
nice
the mark.
not a
I
nice
was going to
caption, I
say.
would say. um, but I did, and I thought, well, that was quick to get that out. So yeah, I can imagine. Oakland was definitely wanting that early doors. I'd have that as my profile picture for the rest of my life.
I was going to say, aye.
Well,
Yeah.
coming on to post game then. I know I was as soon as I got out of Hampden, I had the car. I was dropping my dad home, and I was straight onto the radio and rewound it to the
Yeah.
penalties, so we could kind of listen to that commentary. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one. What about yourselves? So you were heading back through Dunfermline, were you just glued to your phone the whole way, and watching the penalties,
Aye.
highlights, all that
Everything
kind of
you can
stuff?
get your hands on.
There was too much content, but it
Oh,
was wanting every single bit of it.
exactly. Yes.
So was that the same for you, Dougie? Were you just straight on and like,
Yeah, we were straight back, aye, and as you say, we were in the taxi, so the taxi driver had the radio on. You were hearing John McGlynn telling us how many goals he scored against Hearts, Hibs, and Aberdeen this season, but couldn't score against us. And it was
I
like,
also got that wrong as well. He miscounted as well when I was
I,
listening to it. I was
I,
like, come
I
on,
was
one
just
job.
I was wanting to know how many corners they got just in case they wanted to know if they won the corners game again. You know what I mean? I was starting to get a bit upset for him. But yeah,
Oh,
so we were the same. We got back. We were quite fast back, obviously, because we were just in the taxi and we were straight at the town. The wee man got picked up. I think he got taken for a McDonald's. He had the best day of his life so far, I think. And then I went for a few pints. And as I say, I was in the brass house with probably with Jake at some point. And
quite possible, isn't it?
so,
Quite possibly.
so good. No, I mean, I could have been anywhere that night. You know what I mean? It was brilliant.
Yeah.
amazing? Jake, similar story for you?
Yeah, and one thing I want to touch on is the moment, when you come out that north stand at Hampden and you walk along, where's that pub? Is it the Tartan Coup?
Tartancourt.
So the
Yeah,
one
I
so
just
along the,
after in
on
the
the
town
corner.
corner.
So our buses had parked on that street, just as a day-to-day kind of like wee shop just there. They'd parked outside there, so it was perfect for us getting back to the bus. And obviously there's the wee off license there, which had a queue of about 80, and they were brilliant. It was kind of like as soon as one comes out, another goes in, but it was chaos. Just Dunfermline fans buying a lot of
Everything.
alcohol, like.
Anything that was wet.
But aye, but see that moment, the moment from walking out the Hampden, and I think Dougie, that's when I seen you just kind of give each other a wave kind of thing. But just coming out and everybody was walking up past with the big McTominay mural was on the
Yeah.
wall, and the place was like I can only that felt like we won the whole thing. Like that's the kind of celebrations. People were just hugging and jumping about, and there's people selling flags, and people were just spending a fortune buying flags and stuff. And our buses stayed outside that wee shop for a while because we were waiting on someone had went the wrong way or whatever. We weren't sure exactly where the bus was getting us, so we we're there for a bit. And just it was just building. People were just buzzing. It took us such a long time to get out of the kind of Hampden area.
Same us.
But listen, once we got back, for me personally as well, my wife was meant to have a night out on Saturday night, and I was meant to be like, I need to be home for a certain time.
Yeah.
And she texted me just when we got out of Hampden, we're on the motorway. Night out's been cancelled. If you're going for a couple of beers, that's absolutely no problem. And it was like another penalty I'd went in here. I was like, this is fantastic. So, bearing in mind, I had a wedding all day on Sunday, so
Oh,
I had to be reasonably sort of sound about it all. But listen, getting back, we got off at sort of the fire station into the Brass House, which shout out to the Brass House. I think it's Pars fans that kind of own it now or do whatever. And it was both floors. A DJ was on. It was you could hardly move, and the kids were allowed in and stuff like that as well. I think they had the kids until maybe 8 o'clock or something. I'm not sure, and people had their kids in there, and I think for a lot of people it was a great memory. Even my dad was like, "Did they open this during the day? They should get all the fans in here during that." I'm like, "Aye, steady on here." But and
If
then
the Brass
after,
House want to sponsor Inside Athletic
yeah,
Podcast, then please do get in touch. That would be
I'll have a word. I'll have a word. And then after
Big
that,
place.
my dad, kind of, I don't think he likes being in. It was so loud, to be honest. I think he's kind of like rather get. Maybe we go somewhere and have a quiet pint, and we made our way down to the Old Inn. Well, you can imagine it was
I
not
was
much
quiet.
quieter in there.
Right.
And we stayed for a wee bit. Mum, Dad, they headed down the road, and I was out for another couple of hours, and I was home for about 10, which wasn't too
Decent.
bad. Aye, wasn't too bad for us. Could have been out all night. So, but
But I think
what what an evening.
just hearing those stories kind of shows you how much it means to the city as a whole, right?
Aye.
It just lifts the whole place, and it's something that we've been overdue for a long, long time. Not even just talking about cup final success, but cup semi-final success, I should say. But just kind of any real kind of lift that the football team brings to the city, you can just tell the whole place in a much better
No, definitely.
when the team is doing well. So we've got to thank the team for that.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. It's good to hear. I don't know about you guys. I actually got a bit emotional towards the end of it, like going back to leaving Hampden. I think because I'm from Glasgow, I'm like just the token Dunfermline fan that a lot of folk know. Like, so my phone was just pinging with congratulations messages for folk that just obviously know me as that daft Dunfermline fan. But it was really good, and my wife and kids watched the game at home, and they were sort of sending me videos of the girls jumping about watching the penalties and screaming the house down and stuff like that, and all this kind of stuff just hit me like, wow,
Yeah.
realize what
Yeah.
I'm saying, what we've achieved as if it was us that was out there playing, but
Oh, it was.
you know what I mean.
You
But yeah,
need to
just
get into the final, Ricky.
yeah, I think they'll be the lucky charm. We'll get them over. We'll get some jackets ordered up, and we'll get them all the full Lord family at Hampden for the 23rd of May. Brilliant.
Perfect.
Looking forward then. Brilliant to hear relive that day. I'm sure anyone that's listening to this will have very similar stories to all of us. And I think it sounds like it's just the perfect day for all fans that are there, and hopefully that brings back a few memories for everyone listening. Looking forward, 23rd of May, Cup final. I don't know if you were in any position to watch the semi or sort of looking out for the result. Obviously, we've got Celtic. I don't know about you guys. I was personally hoping for St Mirren. I guess that's probably fair. A better chance in the final against St Mirren than we would have Celtic. But I think if you're going to play a Celtic team in a cup final, this is probably the year to do it. So bit of build up, Jake. Sort of looking forward. I know we've got a few league games left, but let's just stick with the cup. Where's your gut at in terms of the cup final?
I mean, we've seen what is that? Will this be our fourth final, and the fourth time we've played Celtic? Is it
Since 2004? Yeah,
since 2004? So I mean, I feel like every time we've played them, it's been what was it? The Larson Cup final, his last game. We've had the Lennon Cup final, which was the last one. I think Jimmy Johnson was the one in between, and then is this one going to be the O'Neill Cup final? I think no, we'll make this one the Lennon Cup final. I think is what we'll do.
II.
But aye, but I kind of what you were saying. I think obviously, ideally, you're probably looking at goal like St Mirren would be the more favourable tie. As I was saying to you now, we were at that wedding on Sunday, sorry. And we were during the meal was kind of when the Celtic game was on, and it's 1-0, it's 2-0, right? Okay, that's fine, no problem. It's 2-1. St Mirren have scored a last minute equaliser, and you're going, oh wow, Like this is it. And within what felt like about 4 minutes, it was 6-2. And
It's
you're
on
going,
again.
is my flash score app like got a virus or something? Like what's going on here? And I watched the highlights back on I think it was on Monday at some point when I dried out a wee bit. But I mean Celtic I think looked kind of quite ordinary in the 90 minutes, and then obviously they blew something away in the in extra time. But it's just excitement. I think um, yeah, it's just an exciting one to go and do. It feels like such a long time since we were at a final, and that we're probably not as well equipped as we've been at some of the finals. If you look at that one in 2004, for example, that was probably our best ever team of recent, of modern day. Um, but I think that was probably the best Celtic of mod, or not, maybe not quite, but what a team they had then. Do you know what I mean? So, as you said, Ricky, if you're going to maybe, hopefully, if you're going to play Celtic and you want to beat them in a final, then this would probably be the time to do it.
Dougie, what about you? What's your thoughts about
I
that one?
totally agree with Jake. I was like, I think we're due them one. No, I mean, as he says, this will be the fourth one, but are we going to get a better chance with Celtic as bad as they are? I don't know, but the gulf between even Aberdeen and us, Hibs and us, Falkirk and us is huge, I think. The bottom of the Premier League, the top of the Championship, I think it's bigger than some folk think. But when you look at Celtic, it obviously takes it to a whole different level. When I watched the game on Sunday as well, I agree. I think they've looked pretty ordinary every time I've kind of watched Celtic, but they can turn it on at any time. You know what I mean? They got offered
Yeah.
25 million for Engels or whatever in January. Nah, I think I don't think anybody will want to play against our back three. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think I think I wouldn't swap it this way. If you put the Falkirk team say on Saturday to our team, how many boys would you take out of their team for our team? Not many, I would say. And that's Falkirk sitting in a given Celtic problems this year. Would you want anybody else to be in charge of Dunfermline against any team in a one-off game? Neil
Yeah,
Lennon, does
completely
he
Nah.
agree.
know Martin O'Neill better than anybody else? Probably.
Yeah.
So you've got to put everything into perspective, eh? And at the end of the day, it's the biggest task. We're going to have to get more luck than maybe we usually get in the games we've had. But I wouldn't write us off just yet, like everybody else probably will. But
Yeah, I believe you need to believe, and I think what we touched on there, like all the previous finals, it's always had like this narrative about who's final it is or whatever. For me, I think that might help us. The fact that the narrative and the media and stuff will be building this up as Lennon v O'Neill, but that's going to protect the players a little bit. That it will maybe all the media stuff will be with Lennon, and it will just let us do our own thing in the background on the training pitch, and the players will be protected. Hopefully, that's how I'm hoping it plays out. So no, let's just see what happens. But whatever, I think we can say safely, whatever happens between now and the end of the season, it's been quite a season
no, it's
for
been so
Dunfermline
good.
Athletic. It's been brilliant,
Yeah.
regardless of where we go from now on. And yeah, it's been a hell of a ride.
Definitely,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
I think obviously we have got two league games left. Queens Park on at the time of recording, Queens Park on Saturday and Arbroath next Friday. Obviously, we'll be looking to secure the playoffs. Ideally on Saturday, or failing that against Arbroath. Jake, your aspirations for the rest of the season? How far do you think this team can go?
I
Hopefully.
mean, and by the way, hopefully, if St Johnstone can do us a solid on Friday night, then it means Wraith wouldn't be able
That's
to catch
super.
us
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true.
So so we could hopefully hopefully the team and Neil Lennon will be sitting watching that on Friday night and are able to know we're going to be no less than fourth going into Saturday anyway. In an ideal world, I suppose it depends how heavy St Johnstone were on it last night, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I I think we all remember certain seasons gone by, and usually it's one when you win the league where it just starts to feel right, and you know, just things start coming together. And I feel like we were quite inconsistent this first half of the year, but second half's been good. I think the cup run has obviously helped that massively, and obviously the teams that we've put out. But just being there on Saturday, it just felt. I know we had a defeat last night, but it just feels like something's just bubbling away. And I've got to say that the worry for me, and I do think we'll make the playoffs. And I think we're as good as a team as any of the teams in the Championship that we're going to come up against. And we've seen how we can play against Premier League teams. We can do it. But I'd probably look at Partick Thistle. We don't tend to do very well against them. We've kind of, I don't know what will be this season. It'll be three defeats, one draw, aren't we, or something like that.
So two at home.
They're a bit of a, not even a bogey. They're a good team, they're a good side, and they've had their own injury problems recently, and if not for that, could they potentially have challenged the title more possibly? But for me, realistically, I think we'll make the playoffs. I'm not going to rule us out from being able to win the playoffs, but I think it will stand us in good stead for next season. And if you I'm not even going to make any predictions, but if you start to look at the teams that potentially could be coming up, you start to look at ideal situations of who might be coming down. It's not a terrible league to look at in full if you try and kind of play about it a wee bit. It's not too bad, and I just think that we might build some. If we can, we do okay in the playoffs, I think we could maybe build some momentum and go into next year with confidence. Yeah.
Very diplomatic, Jake.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I want to say other things but
more or less the same for you, Dougie, as well.
Yeah, again, I totally agree. I think we've had a great season. I think we were this time last season. I think if you look what Lennon's done with, we were relying on Chris Kane so heavily last season. I think he's been so good recently as well, to be fair to him. Yeah, I think we will make the playoffs. Will we have enough to get third? I think it might just be a wee bit too much, but I don't think it'll make too much of a difference to us or Lennon. I don't think he'll mind being home or away, first or second, really. I think we'll go up, and I can see us winning it. As I say, it depends, as Jake says, who's going to be maybe 11th in playing the Premier League in the last game. But I would be, if somebody said to me at the start of the season, finish fourth, have a decent raid run the playoffs, a Scottish Cup final, maybe even a chance to win it, and then let's go for it next year. Because I think, as Jake says, the league won't be as strong. I think we'll be stronger. I think we'll have a great chance to win it. And the fact we've been in it for so many years and struggled's maybe the wrong word, but not been as good as we really should be, I think we've got a good case to just go and give it a right good go next season.
Yeah, and you kind of heard that last night. I don't know if it was through the official site or whatever interview it was that I actually think when I think back to it was the Courier I read on today, and it was basically saying they wants to look at St Johnstone, look at that. Let's go and emulate something like that. Go and do it. And I think Neil Lennon knows exactly what probably he needs to have a serious go at the league title. But I think he was very complimentary about St Johnstone, and if you look at the team they've built, it was a good mix of experience and younger players, but a lot of quality and things. So he'll know kind of what kind of guys will be on a shopping list and things like that. So I think regardless of how we get on, and as I said, we're not in the playoffs yet. I do think we'll get there, regardless of whether we do or not. I think we'll go into next season with a good wee bit of confidence about us, and hopefully the core of the team remains, and we can bring in some additional quality to complement that, and I think we'll do okay.
I think if we could just be a bit more streetwise, see St Johnstone last night, they just do wee pushes, wee nudges every time the ball's in the air. We didn't do that. They're always on to the referee. They're leaving, not dirty in a way, but they're stronger than us. They're bigger than us. And when you look at teams like Inverness who have stayed in the league and the Premier League for so long, they're big units. And we've finally got boys like Gilmore. And I'm not saying Neridine's big, but he's massive. He's a mountain of a man, but he's an athlete. And you've got a big defenders. I think Kane up front when we had Ollie Thomas. I think that's what you need as well, is strength. Obviously, we need everything else as well, but I don't think we're too far away at all.
When you look at next season, we're going to have Europe after we win the cup.
So that's it. We need a bigger squad, don't we?
Yeah, we need a bigger squad.
Aye, that's right. Yeah.
Perfect, no, perfect, guys. Thank you for joining myself and Ricki. This has been the Inside Athletic podcast. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this one. I'd imagine it's a bit of a special one for some after the moments on Saturday. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.